How's it going, Ron?
We're live right now.
Okay. Keep that in mind.
You got the plants and all that stuff there?
Yeah. Yeah, the ones that they were sent out. I think that's
I got
probably
it
good.
file in case you need to look at anything.
Okay. Yeah, they're big. We'll just pass them around here. Hello. Hey, how's it going? What's up? Good.
All right, bud.
How you doing?
Best I can be. Best I can be.
Okay.
So these have to be on. Usually when there's people here, it's
Ron said we're live too, so.
what's that?
Ron said we're live.
Live.
No, it doesn't work. You gotta keep
What?
holding.
Yeah, just, you know, if you go here, it'll probably be off. So in this area? Yeah. Visible? You can see, how the framing is. Go to the other one. Hey.
This is the county reply
Oh, yeah.
giving us local determination.
I'm good. How are you?
How's it going?
All right, how are you doing?
So well, there was a question of whether you were gonna be here or not, I threw Steve under the bus.
I don't know where.
I said, oh, Steve will do it. So, just looking out for you.
Thank you.
That would have been definitely a rock, paper, scissors. In the back room.
We have to adjourn.
I'm not sure where it came from, but I think it was the woman from the.
I just wrote down, I took these from the agenda, just because I was trying to read it. It's like, make your brain explode. So I just bullet pointed.
No, that's perfect, yeah. So, Kevin, that came from, the last text came from Maureen's book.
From who?
Maureen's book, she's the chair of planning. That's me. I just figured I'd make you aware. Because I guess it's.
Yeah, because they're removing parking and expanding.
I'm just sharing.
Oh, okay, I see that.
I just made a list of the variances that are from the agenda.
Okay, got it.
If we're not clear on these, we can ask Manny to clarify them too.
You have an extra one of that?
Call the meeting to order. Today is the Village of Cornwall and Hudson Zoning Board of Appeals meeting of June 9th, 2022. We have one item on the agenda today, and that is brought to us by 56-61 First Street LLC regarding the property at 275 Hudson Street. The property is located on the south side of Hudson Street, approximately 350 feet west from the intersection of Duncan Avenue and Hudson Street. Variances from section 172-9F11 of the Village Zoning Code to allow for the addition of multifamily housing on a pre-existing non-conforming lot. The proposed variances that increase or create new conformities are: 1, to allow for a lot area of 2,047 square feet when the code requires 4,800 square feet. 2, to allow a front yard setback of 31.3 feet when the code requires 40 feet. 3, to permit one side yard setback of 15 feet when the code allows 30 feet. 4, to allow a total side yard setback of 15.9 feet when the code requires 60 feet. And 5, to allow a lot coverage of 24% when the code permits only 20%. And 6, to allow for no building offset when the code requires 5 foot at 40 foot. In addition, the proposed variances for the pre-existing nonconformities that are remaining but necessary because of the added density are: 1, to permit a lot area of 0.42 acres when the code requires 1 acre. 2, to allow for a lot width of 109.1 feet when the code requires 150 feet. 3, to permit one side yard setback of 0.85 feet when the code requires 30 feet. 4, to allow a rear yard setback of 0.32 feet when the code requires 30 feet. And 5, to permit a distance between buildings of 7.5 feet when the code requires 20 feet. The property is situated at section 107, block 1, lot 3 in the village of Cornwall on Hudson, said lot also being known as 275 Hudson Street. The property is located in the SR, Suburban Residential Zoning District, and the CBS, Central Business Shopping District, or Central Business Shopping Subdistrict. The interested in the proposed variances at the above time and place. Copies of the variance application, environmental assessment form, plans, and any other information submitted in support of the variance application are available for review at the Code Enforcement Office located at 50 Shore Road during normal business hours. I think before we, to begin, just have the applicant introduce yourself and give us an introduction to the proposal.
Mr. Chairman, if you want to just go ahead and open the public hearing, make a motion.
Yes, open the public hearing.
If you want to make a quick motion.
Motion to open the public hearing.
Good evening, everyone. My name is John Capello. I'm an attorney with Jacobitz and Gubitz, and I'm here this evening with the project surveyor, Anthony Celentano, and the project architect, John Perkins, as well as the principal for the applicant, Dean Galemis, to present the application for a variance. Now, I know the board, the chair, read the notices, and viscerally, it may seem like, we're asking for several variances, but this is a very unique situation, and it's a unique opportunity for the village. This building has existed since back in the 1980s when it was converted to allow for six existing apartments. The applicant, and if you drive by there or go through there, you will see that the people who live there provides an opportunity for some diverse housing opportunities in the village, in our region where it is so vitally needed. The applicant, in response to the desire by so many to live in housing like the multi-housing in the village, is now looking to expand the facility to create just an additional 3 one-bedroom units. So at the end of the day, there will be a total of 9 one-bedroom units on the facility. The property will be spruced up. The building will connect, so it will provide a buffer to the remaining yard, but giving the existing site constraints and the really limit of land in the village to build this type of housing. This, like I said, is a unique opportunity to provide a few more units in the village that can provide the type of housing opportunities you need in an area that has accommodated such type of housing on a property where the housing has been accommodated, and just continue the trend and allow for a few more opportunities. Now, as you go through the criteria of the variances, this board is going to have to balance the benefit to the applicant in allowing them to provide these 3 additional units as weighed against the perceived detriment to any neighbors or properties associated with the grant of the variances. And in doing that, you have to apply the five principles in balancing it. One is where there'll be an undesirable change produced in the neighborhood by granting these area variances. Well, I said the neighborhood has accommodated 6 units on this property since the 1980s. We'll be adding 3 additional units. They will be similarly sized, similar in appearance, and we believe will enhance the area by, allowing the applicant to upgrade, the property and build it in a manner that can provide some more rental opportunities to keep this property moving. The applicant operates many multifamily units in the area, has been a responsible landlord in, I believe there are tenants here that will be speaking, to attest to that fact. So it'll allow the continuation and expansion and improvement of the property. The density is similar really to the type of density, in the neighborhood. I think when Mr. Celentano presents the site plan, you'll see there will still be provisions of green spaces. There will still be, some buffer in a village setting provided for this facility. The applicant has, maybe policed is the wrong word, but has managed the facility in a manner to ensure that the tenants comply and are appropriate tenants and that they are good neighbors. The parking, I know that may be a concern. There will be 16 spaces available for this. Now, your code requires 2 spaces per unit for a 1-bedroom, apartment. And I think if you look at the trend in most codes and most of the planning trends is we as a nation are over-parked, which is over-pavement and, over development. If you drive by the site on any given day, you'll see for the existing 6 units, there are probably 4 or 5, cars there at any one point. So having 9 units with 16 spaces really meets or exceeds what I would say the great majority of parking requirements in villages. It would still be, well over 1.5 spaces per 1-bedroom unit. So we believe that, this one built will virtually be unnoticeable. It will be the same character, the same appearance, the same architectural. It will just be a little bit of a bigger building on in similar use that has been on this property since 1985. Now, the second consideration is, can the benefit by the applicant be achieved by some method feasible to pursue other than an area variance? And, this really, when you look at it, in order to continue to operate, given and provide the housing at the rents that people can afford and provide you the opportunity to have the type of people you need in your community, live in your community, it's not really feasible to provide a lot of multifamily opportunities here in the village. There's just not a lot of vacant land, and to develop it and, to get 3 additional units in some other way and do a new development, there's not a lot of green space to develop. And why would you want to disturb additional green space to provide these units when you have the ability and the space on an existing lot where it has been accommodated for several decades? So The sewer, the water, all the connections exist. As I said, the parking exists on the site. There's not a lot of major improvements, necessary to be done to accommodate it. And, I think this, as I said, is unique. As we've experienced over the last several years, it is vital for us to have places for our essential workers to be able to live in our community, to have to commute. You look at the people who will likely be living in here, who have lived here, it's going to be our seniors who want to stay, may want to downsize but stay in proximity to family members. It's going to be young families or young couples or young people who are moving to the area and, are not in a position to afford a house yet, but will have a place to live and prosper. Those are the types of people who will be will be utilizing your restaurants and revitalizing your downtown. So this will be a unique opportunity. People who work at the hospitals that are located there, people, who work in villages or town, those are the types of people who desperately need this type of housing, and this is a great opportunity to be able to provide that. Now, as far as the substantiality of the variances, numerically, it may seem substantial, but if you do, and I do encourage the board, Mr. Galemis has marked off on the property the area where the addition will go. And I think while, like I said, numerically it may seem substantial, if you go walk that property and you see where that building will be located and how it will fit in the property, it will likely not be too noticeable for anybody driving by or working or living around there. It will just be a kind of a organic expansion of the building to continue to provide more housing opportunities. The fourth standard is, will the variance have an adverse effect or impact on the physical or environmental conditions in the neighborhood or district? It's 3 units. Any traffic from the unit will be handled, as the water and sewer connections are already there. As I said, we believe the parking is more than sufficient to accommodate these units. The architecture will be the same or will actually improve the facility. So we believe, as far as any environmental changes, there will be no real impact associated with it. Now, as for the self-created hardship, well, the building existed and the applicant bought it, but you do buy under current zoning, but this is an area, these are all area variances, so the issue of self-created hardship in an area variance in and of itself is not self-determinative, and I think when you look at all the other factors, and the fact that the building exists and that there are not a lot of other opportunities to provide this type of housing in a manner that it can be adequately accommodated in the village, I think it's a great opportunity. So those are the points I'd like to raise. Now, I will introduce Mr. Celentano first, unless Mr. Perkins wants to go, just to run you through the site plan to show you where the building's located, where the actual addition will occur, and how it relates to the surrounding area.
Good evening, board. Anthony Celentano, surveyor for the applicant. If you look here on the plan, so right now, there's an existing building in the front, and that is a 2 one-bedroom apartments. In the rear, there's a building in the back, and that's 4 one-bedroom apartments. And Mr. Galemis would like to connect from this side of the building to the front to the rear and create 3 one-bedroom apartments. Now, the entrance to the site will remain the same. So there will be no construction along the front, along the street. All we do is restriping the parking to accommodate the 16 spaces. In addition, they'll be providing a landscaping plan. where he'll provide fencing to screen from the neighbor to the east, provide shrubs along the front to beautify the front. Currently, there's only one tree there. And as the attorney said, all the utilities will be utilized. That's there now. And all the drainage paths will remain the same. It's just a matter of connecting the two buildings. As you see, these sites will not be disturbed. All the adjoining neighbors will have the same thing that's there now, and the rear will be the same. It's just the connection of the two buildings and the addition of the 3 one-bedroom apartments. As you see, that will be 15 feet from the lot line to the east, and then relocate the adjacent building next door here also. Any questions on the site, I'm glad to answer. But I think Mr. Perkins now would like to go through the layout of the bedroom apartments.
Just, do you have a site plan of the existing?
Yes, if you look here on the last page, I think it was.
Let's see the last page.
Second page.
So right behind it.
All right, so if you look here, we're putting the addition here, which is now currently, majority of it is paved. So we're not really increasing the impervious area that much. We'll be connecting from here to here.
Okay. So you basically take off
All that pavement.
that one area of paving. Is there parking spaces up there?
Yes, but we're gonna be reconfiguring along here, adjusting certain different patterns, but overall, the macadam area will remain the same.
Okay. So you're removing that, and then in the front, it looks, is it expanding it? There's,
Correct, over here, there'll be an expansion.
so in front of the building along Hudson.
We're coming out a little bit this way.
Okay, so you add, you're basically taking the pavement in the back and moving it to the front.
I think they're moving the pavement, they're eliminating pavement.
Then they paint
This is-
over there, putting-
Oh, they're,
all new.
that's new
That's
there.
correct.
Got it, you're right, okay, I see that. Yep.
Okay.
All right, see the spots. Remember 14, 15, and 16 were.
Yeah.
Okay. See a lighting diagram.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is John Perkins. I'm the architect for the applicant.
This is what I didn't get.
I
was really
will
the
speak
issue.
to the building and tell you a little bit about what we intend to do and what the building will actually look like. We prepared some photographic renderings. Mr. Glenn will display them. Just to give you a brief synopsis of the building itself. The addition itself is going to be 3 one-bedroom units, 2 stories. The units themselves are actually 800 square feet on the nose, which is a requirement for the code itself. Just to go through the first floor plan, there are 1, 2, 3 bedroom, or 3 units themselves, separate units with 2 stories each, with a kitchen and living area downstairs, powder room, and stair at the left side at the first unit. And then the other 2 units are configured differently as a result of the entry point of the units number 2 and number 3, so that we can gain access from the parking area. We wanted to have the approach so that we didn't have walkways coming around the building itself, so we provide an approach at the front, and I think you'll see that it's more favorable in appearance. So as you see, that unit number 1, unit number 2, and unit number 3 all have their living spaces and public spaces downstairs with the 1 bedroom above. So the second floor plan, as you arrive at the second floor, it's 1 door into a master bedroom, walk-in closet, and full bathroom. So again, 1 bedroom units. 2 and 3, very similar in configuration, very similar in shapes and sizes. Again, 800 square foot each. To give you some background as to what the appearance is, looking at the units themselves, or looking at the front of the building, very unobtrusive as far as what we're trying to provide in additional square footage with appearance from the street. From the street, or the north side, you can see that the only thing that is affected is the addition at the front door with the 2 windows above. Again, I think it looks a little bit better and embellishes the building a little bit to provide that entry point there. On the rear portion of that, the mirror image of that, is the back of the property, or on the south side. That is the back image of the unit number 3 with breezeway covered area, which because the units are so small, we tried to embellish a little bit and create 3 additional storage units where the breezeway occurs, where that roofed area is. Each tenant has their own private storage area, so it's a closet because the units themselves are very small. So we tried to most effectively create a storage space for each unit, so 3 additional storage spaces. Now, looking at it from the east portion of the property, or the left side, you can see this is the front of the building. This is unit number 1, 2, and 3, and again, the back of those storage units that we were just referring to. The opposite side, the west elevation at the parking area, is the 2 entry points, units number 2 and units number 3, where we have those additional storage units there, or the breezeway areas, with the second building. So this is an existing building, this is an existing building, this is our addition. Now, we prepared some renderings, as you can kind of see scattered across here. Just to kind of walk you through what they look like. This is the front of the building, or the northeast corner of the building, embellishing it along with the landscape that was recommended through the planning board and what we've provided thus far with the landscaping plan. You can see the front entry point, 2 windows, existing building beyond. Try to kind of superimpose the landscaping there to give some impression, but not obstruct the building at the same time. So that's the northeast view. So looking at the southeast corner, or the back portion of the building where that breezeway occurs, or those storage rooms, this is the left side of the structure itself. Unit number 1, unit number 2, unit number 3. Again, that breezeway that walks through to the storage areas that connects the 2 of those. So that's the southeast corner. And we did a couple of views for the east area parking lot. So if we're facing the east in the parking area, this is the existing building, this is the addition. These are our storage rooms that we're providing there. Did another rendering of the front without any landscaping plan. I don't think it's as attractive, but we wanted to provide it to give you the clarity to see what it actually appears without all of the landscaping plan. And we did one other view of the east-facing parking lot a little closer towards the corner, so that you could see unit number 2 and unit number 3 along with the parking area and the existing structure at the back, the 4 units at the back. And I'll scatter these back out so that you can see them all together. And I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
So the east setback that goes from 32 feet down to 15 feet. Just can you show that elevation, or that the rendering of that, or the
Are we referring to the left side?
yeah, where the east side,
Yeah, the left side.
yeah, left
That-
side,
that
yeah.
is actually, this is the front corner,
Yep.
that is the left side.
And then it's over there too. Okay.
Exclusive to that, this
Yeah.
would be the left side.
Okay.
I believe that is within the required setbacks there.
That's 30 feet, so it's going from 30 to 15, or 32 to 15. So okay.
So we need to stand sure.
Yep. Okay.
Any other questions?
What was the the reasoning for the storage units? It's just
Fire separation mostly. Just kind of a 2-pronged approach. We started, not to bore everyone in the room, we tried in many different ways to reconfigure the parking so that we could reuse this area at the back of the lot. It seems almost shameful that we can't use that area, but it's so irregular and it's so small that you can't gain access to it. So in vain, we kind of abandoned the use of it because there's a shed back there and it's a green space. And the yard is accessible so that the neighbors and the tenants can use it. So what we did was we actually repurposed this space here because we needed to keep this addition as narrow as possible without encroaching into this parking area to reduce our parking. So in keeping this as narrow as possible and in the plans and keeping it as effective as we can with usable spaces within the floor plan, we had very little closet space within, use of living areas, bedroom areas. We had very little closet space. So as a concern for a landlord, he was kind of wondering, can we create more closet space? Can we create more storage space? And having this breezeway that was here connecting the two buildings here, because of these two buildings being connected or so close to one another, it almost created a point of, if it's two buildings, there needs to be a fire separation. There still needs to be a fire separation, but that fire separation will go from a 2-hour rating to a 1-hour fire rating because it's the same occupancy, the same incentive use. So what we'll have the ability to have this usable space, but still connect the two buildings, so we got the best of both worlds. So we can kind of use that as closet space and get a little bit more area to store things.
What was the decision to do 3? When you think about you go through how substantial it is, and we talk about numerically it is big in terms of the variances. Why, if you know the numbers and how substantial it is, why 3, not 2 or 1?
Can I ask that from here, or do you want me to come to the board?
The answer.
Dollars and cents, right? For the cost of the build out,
If you could just introduce yourself,
I'm
sir.
sorry, Dean Dilemmas, I'm the owner of the property.
Oh, and your address, too.
100 Pelham Drive. Comes down to dollars and cents, right? You're doing all this infrastructure work, you have to put a pad, you have to reconfigure sewer lines, you have to move electrical lines, you have to do all this stuff. Cost per square foot of construction is considerable. That's why you need to get 3 units out of it. And initially, we initially proposed 3 2-bedroom units, but with parking, we figured that was overload for the property, and we scaled it back to 1, during our discussions with the planning board. And again, the footprint to get even 1 unit, you have to go 17 feet out from the other building. We tried to put this addition everywhere on the property we could think of, and that's the only place where it works. So the biggest problem, I think, is the variance, the side yard variance, right? To make a livable space, as you know, you need X amount of square feet. You gotta be 17 feet wide in order to get it. That's why we made it that wide. The length is the length doesn't cause any kind of variance. It's the width, and in order to get a livable space, you just need that width, and that's the only spot on the lot where we can get that.
Yeah, that was going to be my question. Because of the side yard variance and how tight it gets over there, what are the constraints that you guys were facing in designing to have it the width that it is 17 feet? And then if there's any way to kind of push it away from the property line into the parking area, but I mean, does that create restraints with parking, turning radius?
Is the problem. And again, it's a sin because in the back of the parking lot on the site plan, we do have considerable space in the back. We currently have a fence here. I have all this extra parking. This is a big spot actually. And we could get, I think, Anthony, we figured 5 cars back there.
Yes.
But there's just not enough wiggle room to pull a car out back, someone back into the building, or it's just the area between the property line and the existing building is too narrow to safely have people driving back there. Someone will drive to the house.
But there's just like if you were to take the whole bar and kind of move it this way, does that create a problem in here?
Yeah, it complicates. This is
Like I'm taking, this is about as tight as.
Yeah, I mean, we're 29.5 from spot to spot. That's almost, I mean, it's
Across here to here.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, right dimension there. That's the bare essentials to back up. Getting to your, to answer your question about how did we arrive at the configuration of 17 feet and why does that work the way that it does? A lot of massaging and exercising the floor plan so that we could figure out, first of all, by code, how many stairs we need to get from the first floor to the second floor. We want them to look cohesive. We want them to look the same. We want an 8-foot ceiling height. We want, the stairs to be to code. We want to make sure that the number of risers doesn't exceed too far of a distance so that we have no livable space downstairs or no livable space upstairs. So the way that it kind of configures with the landings and why this turns the way that it does as a stair configuration is so that we can still pull that stair together, still have the landings, and still not extend any further towards the other building and towards the front, obviously. So by doing this kind of L-shaped, it allows us to squeeze this in a little bit rather than kind of, ask for more.
Did you take a look at, these are two-story units. Is there any possibility of the plan working with one-story units? Is that
Pretty tight.
alleviate?
It's almost impossible to have each size bedroom, kitchen, living room, all those things as, one story. The footprint, not to mention it's gonna look awkward in relationship to the two buildings.
Because the units that are here now, are they all two-story?
Yes.
I think, yeah, the one is a first floor and a second floor apartment, and then the other four are two-story.
They're both two-story.
They're both two-story? Okay.
Yeah.
I know they're two-story, but are the,
Familiar.
yeah, I was just over there.
Yeah, this is the front building.
It's a two-story.
That is a two-story.
It has, but it has an external stairwell going up to the second floor.
At the back, yes, at the back.
Okay,
And that is, this guy here.
right. I thought that was the entrance to it. Okay, 'cause
And that is the second building. That is
That's what I'm
also
saying. I think
two-story.
it's a two-story, yeah.
And I think that was a function of the way the building was previously used before the 80s. I believe it was retail on the first floor, so the only way to gain access to the second floor was from the exterior.
I think the question was just on the front building,
Yes.
the configuration of the apartments on the one closest to the street, are they?
Each floor is one unit.
Yeah, okay, that's what I thought,
Each
yeah.
floor is one bedroom unit. They're not up and down. The new units will be up and down.
And that's similar to what the rear unit is currently?
It's almost, they're almost mirror units, all six. units.
Okay, thanks.
Did you take a look at kind of the typical lot in the neighboring properties to see like kind of, what the typical setback is, what the typical spacing between buildings are? See if this kind of fits into that.
I can speak to that. I'm intimately familiar with the village. This project, when it's done, will be further from Hudson Street, further from the side yards than 80% of the existing structures in the same area. They were built a long time ago, right on the sidewalk. This, even with the addition, and again, I welcome anybody, the public or any members of the board. I have the outline spray painted onto the macadam lawn. Please walk it. If you walk it, you'll see it's not obtrusive in any way, shape, or form. In fact, with the addition, it will be much less obtrusive than 70% of the existing buildings now that sit right on Hudson Street and pose dangerous conditions with cars pulling out of their driveways, and you can't see until they're right on Hudson Street, et cetera, et cetera. It's a well thought out. I need a lot of variance, it seems, but many of them are already existing. I'm a responsible landlord here in the village. I own a lot of properties. I take good care of them. Some of my tenants volunteer to come down here and speak on my behalf. As to the kind of landlord I am, I'm not gonna build anything that the village will not be proud of, or anything that the village doesn't need. If there wasn't a need for these units, I would not be building them. Every one of my units in Cornwall is fully rented, and I have a list a mile long of people who want apartments here. And they're all, like Mr. Capello said, I have, in this property, I have grandparents who moved back from down south as they got more elderly and needed a ground floor unit so they could be near their grandkids because they need help. I have a nurse, I have a fireman, all community people who are community minded that wouldn't be in Cornwall was it not for an affordable apartment here. Lots of young couples. I have some of my tenants here who live in the village, and they're a young professional couple who just cannot afford a house here right now. So until they can, they're gonna rent here because they wanna be here. And they wanna go to Pepitini's, and they wanna go to painters. They wanna go to Two Ellis's. They wanna They're the ones who are spending money in the village, they're the ones who are keeping all the little shops here in business, which makes Cornwall special. And without them, the village is gonna wither. We need young people here, and that's what I'm providing.
Understood. I'm just wondering, like, one of the main criteria that we look at is, just to, when you're looking for a variance, most of the lots in that area they existed before the zoning board. This would, we speak about a existing nonconformity. That basically refers to an older home that is built close to the street or to the neighboring property. It existed before the zoning code was enacted, so it's non-conforming, but it existed before the zoning code existed. So basically, you kind of set up a whole. It's basically when you refer to the character of the village, that's kind of what you're getting at. That things are closer together in this one area, and part of what we're doing is analyzing the proposal to see if it, is in the character of the existing buildings. So I was just wondering if you had something that would kind of strengthen your argument, that just kind of showed all the lots in the area that kind of had that showed just how close together or far apart they are, to kind of demonstrate, that this proposal is kind of in character with that. It would be kind of beneficial to us and then the public as well if they're.
We can provide that if the board, try to get the attack me, but I think, I think we expect that the board may want to, hear the comments and hear the concerns, so then we can respond and provide you the information that's a very reasonable comment. And I think you hit the point of the concern is, I think most codes are written for quote unquote green space development, where it's a vacant parcel and you're building fresh and you have, it's easier to attempt to meet those. But we're finding now, especially in villages, it's very hard to do. I have another application that I'm going to be submitting in a couple weeks in the town of Cornwall. Same thing, it's an existing facility that has multifamily, and they're looking to, that's townhouses, and they're looking to, build a few more, and it's really difficult to do that without, variances. And I think, communities are gonna have to consider how do we infill our development and provide it in those areas where people can walk versus looking for green spaces and outlying areas where you build, which tomorrow night I may be representing one of those, but where you build, 80 or 90 or 100 apartment units in the town, and they're very nice and they provide housing, but people will still have to get in their cars and drive everywhere. They tend to be more expensive because they're brand new builds and roads need to be built new and sewer lines and everything. So, a lot of what you see of the new multifamily is at a much higher rent level just because of all those factors. So this is a real niche that, a real unique opportunity to provide that. So, but we can provide, I understand that analysis, and when I visited the site with you, I said exactly that. I said, it looks like you're in character, and we can demonstrate that.
Maybe if you could even provide some like aerial photographs for the board, I think that'd be helpful, just from Google, nothing fancy.
Yeah, the satellite.
Yeah.
Dean, and just quick, just help me out, just like the front, how is that gonna change? Like, what is it ultimately gonna look like? I mean, I know obviously I know what it looks like now. What's the change, and just kind of help us kind of picture,
So this is so if you took this picture right now, right? This is the existing front building, from here till about here. The new addition is gonna be a bump out, right? So when you're looking at Hudson Street, you look straight at this. What you'll see from Hudson Street is just front facade. Now, this is a rendering. I'm gonna have much nicer, maybe scallops on the top, siding. But this is what you're gonna see. You're gonna see the entrance to one of the units here, with the little roof over it. This is what you're gonna see different. When you're standing in front of the property, looking at 275 Hudson Street, this is the only difference you're gonna see. You're gonna see from here to here. This building, this picture here is the back building, but in reality, you'd never see that in reality. It's set quite far back. So this little bump out that you see, it doesn't, it's not an accurate scale.
Okay.
You'd never see this part sticking out. That's way in the back of the property. So this is the difference you're going to see. 17 feet wide, well decorated, well landscaped. I think we have, so you can see the bench. We have on the site plan, we're gonna have a sitting area, a bench. There's still gonna be 30 feet of green space from Hudson Street to the building, which is more, you guys live in Cornwall, Hudson.
Yeah.
Walk down Hudson Street. It's way more than in 90% of the buildings that are sitting there. Most of them are sitting on Hudson Street. So it's gonna be an attractive, well-landscaped piece of property. The biggest, you know, I know some people came in today worried about the 0.89 variance or 0.89 from the property line. That's the back building, which was existing. It's been there for 100 years. I'm not building, I want to be clear to everyone in the public. My addition is not less than 1 foot off the property line. But again, I invite each and every one of you. Call me, I'll come down with you, go by yourselves. It's spray painted out on the whole thing. And when you stand there and you look at it, and even people who, in the public, walk down Hudson Street and take a look at it. It's not obtrusive in any way, shape, or form. It goes with the character of the neighborhood, and it's gonna bring needed housing here. And it's gonna be rateable and good for the village.
And the side facade, there aren't any decks coming out there, patios?
No, initially, what we had initially proposed was the entrances to the buildings on this side. But in consideration of the neighbor on that side, people passing, walking down the sidewalk, we rethought that idea and we said, well, no, let's put one entrance here and the other two are inside the courtyard, which is right here if you go from this one. So those would be the entrances to the other two. And
Currently,
that way we're not disturbing our neighbor to the east.
currently on the east side of the property where the building is gonna go, there's a walkway there that goes
There
to
is
the
a
back of the.
cement wall,
Cement
a
walk.
macadam walkway was
Yeah,
there and
okay.
they bought the property.
Yeah, okay,
So that will be removed.
yeah.
And the building's gonna basically sit right there.
If your side yard is being reduced from 32 to 15 or 15.9, what on the neighboring building, I just can't remember which building it is exactly, how far are they from their side yard? Like, I'm wondering
About
how
20
much
They're about 20 something feet.
on their side, okay.
Yeah. So they're gonna have like 30 or 40 feet between the buildings.
That's what I was wondering, yeah,
Here's his existing building here.
okay.
So in addition to this, here, our building ends here,
Mm-hmm,
his house is there, here's the property line.
okay,
And we're gonna put shrubbery, white vinyl attractive fencing. You know, we're trying to be as considerate to our neighbor as we can. And realistically, that's the only neighbor who we would be kind of encroaching on with this project.
What's their, it looks like there's they have a chain link fence there now.
There's an old rusted chain link beat up fence that's theirs, you know. I'll be putting alongside of it or replacing it if they want. With white vinyl fence, shrubbery along the white vinyl fence. You know, I'm willing to, again, I'm a good neighbor. I'll put shrubs along his side if he wants, also.
Any impact to the landscape that's there now? Any trees coming down? or-
One tree in the front will come down, but we're gonna replace it with the same tree in that little park area that we showed you in the front.
Mhm.
And all landscaping around here as well as here. So that tree is sitting right here right now.
That's the big tree.
big one.
The big
It's a big hardwood tree of some
Yeah, yeah,
sort.
yeah.
So I'm gonna replace it all with arborvitae's around here, and there'll be attractive plantings all around it. And again, this is over 30 feet. You can't really appreciate how big this area is if you go by it again.
Yeah,
It's a large green area, and it will be largely intact, except for 5 feet of it.
Now, the benches that are there and the area that you're making,
Yep.
do you see that as being like open to the sidewalk or part of the property?
You mean, do I mind if a neighbor is walking down the street and wants to sit down and
Yeah.
relax? No. But if it's a concern that it'll be a disturbance, that people will congregate there and make trouble, I'm happy to move it. I can move it.
Well, no.
I can move it back here.
I think it's kind of an interesting idea that it's part of the.
But I thought it's a
Little-
walkable village, right? I live all the way in Quaker Mill. And every morning I get up and I walk all the way down to the bandstand and back. I sure would like to sit down on the bench. You know? But that's my thought, our thought was, we could have made our green space, you know, you want green space, right? We have all this here to make a green space now. It's just dead area, we can't put parking back there. I could have made my green space all there and my park and my bench there. But my thought was, people walk their dogs, they walk up and down Main Street, they can sit down and relax.
Yeah, no, I mean, I
thought
think
it
it's
was good.
a,
It
it's an
becomes
interesting
part of the
idea.
village.
It's sort of a,
It helps make the
That's a-
village more walkable. And I'll be honest with you, I stole the idea from the town when they built that little pocket park on the east end of Main Street.
Yeah.
It's all cobblestone, but they have just benches sitting there, so pedestrians are walking down, they can stop, and it's become like a nice little place for people to sit.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna put no trespassing signs in the lawn and say, get off my land. You know, it's a bench, sit down and relax, you know?
yeah, I think if you had a, like a landscaping plan, that would be good just,
We do want to say,
okay, just for the public to take a look at.
One, take it out and get it around. Again, I wanna make the village more attractive, it's in my best interest. Really.
Right here shows all the shrubbery it's putting in,
Mhm.
The types
and the
of
two
plants,
benches. Types of plants.
the trees.
And that has all the hardscape of like the walkway to the front of the entrance.
Right, all the entrances along here.
Yeah.
We have the two, and then there's the one in
The
the
one in
front.
front has there's a concrete sidewalk.
Comes inside, in front, okay.
If the board would like to embellish the landscaping plan, we could gladly add more plants, right?
Again, I wanna make it look attractive. It's gonna be the first brand new apartments built in Cornwall. Probably since they were converted. You know, instead of having a chopped up mansion into little awkward apartments, these are gonna be 3 functioning, attractive apartments for young professionals.
Well, you guys have any more? I was gonna see if anyone from the.
Yeah, public.
If the public segment is open, if anyone would like to make any comments, ask any questions, please feel free. Just introduce yourselves, state your name and address.
Jackie Gaylord, 37 Duncan Avenue. I know Dean, I did not know he owned the property when I got here. I'm a little bit concerned about the excessive amount of, the variance that he's requesting, I'm a good neighbor, my neighbor wants, a foot or 2 on the side setbacks, that's fine. I think that it's a bad precedent to open with doing this kind of, if you were to approve that it's such a huge variance that people are gonna flood you and try to do, different things. But on another note, I wanted to make sure that you got Tony Minuta's letter in regards to this. So she is, I'm also an attorney. She's a client of mine. She asked me I said I was gonna come by just as myself as a citizen, but she did mention the parking is an issue, and I'm concerned about that as well. Because the parking along Hudson Street there that goes, her store is right across. She owns the hairstylist, Stylish chair. And then also Hudson Street Hair Company might have an issue too. So there's several businesses there, and I'm worried about, with all this construction, as is my client Tony, that parking, there's not gonna be anywhere for her clients to park. Because basically you have one side of the street parking, it goes up to the blinking light at 2 Alice's, and that's it, unless you park all the way down and around the corner. So maybe accommodations have to be made if, this does go through, that the workers park off-site and don't interrupt the businesses there.
Are you concerned about the parking during construction or after the
Parking
building's
during
finished?
construction, and she also, I also know that, as they just stated, there are short parking spaces, so you're talking about 1.5 parking spots for every person. And he's talking about families coming in, so you're gonna have probably 2 professionals, 2 cars, so that requires at least 18 parking spots. I think, right, 6, that would be 18 parking spots. So he already doesn't have enough, and she says she's already sees that the people park in front of her shop. on Hudson Street while they're living there now, before this,
My
new
tenants
addition
do not
comes in.
park. My tenants don't.
I'm just relaying, I'm just relaying what she,
To be clear, it goes from-
spoken to me about.
It goes from 18 to 16, so there's currently, with the 6 units and the way
Yeah.
the letter was, it goes from 18 down to 16.
Uh-huh.
So that's just,
Yeah, but anyway, she said that she, currently has a concern about that, so I just wanted to reiterate that on her behalf. Thank you.
If I can just answer her concerns? Sure. Currently, right now, as we speak, every one of my tenants is home. Mr. Capella, how many free spots do we have? 7? 7 or 8?
I can't confirm everybody was home,
Right.
but I
But I
can
can.
confirm there were a number of spaces
So Ms. Menuda has her own parking lot for her hair salon
And,
for
you know,
her customers.
we can also provide, and I would provide many of the parking requirements in several communities in the area that, for 1 bedroom is 1 space or 1.5. So 2 is, really over parking. And the other thing, I think there are going to be area businesses, it's three apartments, so that's 3 more potential clients to walk across the street and get their hairstyle versus, people driving into parking spaces. So, everything is a balance, but we do understand those concerns and we'll provide. As far as construction, I will ask Dean and we can provide, I be honest with you, didn't think of it, but that's a legitimate, comment to take precautions to make sure that you park in the parking area.
Yeah. And if I could just speak on that. Ms. Menuda has her own parking lot in the front, so I don't believe that her customers would be impacted. We're asking for only 2 extra parking spots. I own 223 Hudson Street, 202 Hudson Street, 78 Duncan. During construction, if it was an issue, I could make my construction workers park there and walk to the site. If they couldn't park for the construction, I understand that would be a concern. I have workarounds where it would not be obtrusive to the daily activity of the people around me, my neighbors. Again, like I said, I'm very minded, I know the Menudas, they're good people. I don't wanna hurt them, I don't wanna hurt her business, I don't wanna get her upset, I don't wanna get anyone upset. So if I need to make my workers park off-site at one of my other properties, that's what I'll do. And we'll have the one guy shovel them over with 1 truck. There's ways around that, I think that would be the least of our worries. Pardon.
Hi, Mary Ann Odell, 21 Duncan Avenue. So I do have a question about the parking. If the code says that each unit needs 2 spots, is that part of the variance? That this client will have 16 instead of the required 18?
that's one of the requested variances.
It is.
I thought that was one of
Or
them.
does he have to
Or is it
find
not?
2 spots somewhere else?
It's not on the variance.
How does that work?
No, it is in the variances.
I thought it was listed.
It's
in
not on the
variances.
agenda.
It's not on the agenda.
I thought I saw the letter somewhere, okay.
It was in
It was in the letter.
Yeah.
That is one of the.
Yeah.
So one of the variances will be to accept 16 instead of 18, which is 12.
Yeah.
It's not listed.
I see.
Second, I know Dean as well, it's ugly. So if you could, that's a historic area, you're leading right into the square. People will see it, because even though you say it's 18 feet back or whatever the feet back it is, it should conform a little bit more to the historic aesthetic of the village.
It's keeping right now with exactly the style that's there now.
I agree, and
I'm not against, and if you heard me a few moments ago, there's gonna be a higher quality siding, Lindsay, scallop siding.
okay, I hope that you consider that, I'm not, that's not.
And if you pay attention earlier, I did say that there'll be better siding, there'll be scallop on the top and the peaks.
Okay.
Well, I'm gonna make it as attractive as I can, believe me.
Then another point I have is, it is close to the line of your neighbor. Your neighbor's not here. But if I was looking out my bedroom window and looking into my neighbor's bedroom window, which was how far?
35 feet away.
35 feet. So that's a concern. And I'd like to know if the board is aware of the fire department's feelings on this cul-de-sac that's being created? Or courtyard?
That was a
That is
question. I was
correct,
gonna
that is
bring up
correct.
too.
I submitted the plans to the fire department and they commented, they submitted a letter with their reply.
And they're in favor, no comments?
No
Okay.
comments, yeah, the site's set up for firefighting operation, I say.
Okay.
To be able to get the trucks in and out, to the
Right.
connection to the fire hydrants and do whatever operation that may need to do.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Do they have any questions, or that was just a cut and dry, it's okay?
Well, one of the concerns was with the water, with the sprinkler system they're gonna be put in place, make sure that there's sufficient water coming in, sufficient pressure on the site, which that's something they need to provide, and there is enough water, they're just gonna have to bring it into the site, that's gonna be part of the construction. And I gotta make sure that it's in place during my plan review.
Okay.
That is standard, it's nothing that they need a variance or anything
For that, okay.
something that has to be provided.
And May, could you just clarify, her first question about the parking variance? There's we have a letter, that was, through you, and it has a list of the variances, and then the agenda, which most of us were looking at, it's not on there.
I believe maybe they overlooked it, but,
It
might
might
have
be
been
just a typo on the public hearing notice. I don't think we need to renotice if it does in fact need to be on there, but,
So, the parking is another variance that's.
That is another variance, they require 18, they're only providing 16.
And we do discuss it in the addendum and the other.
And I apologize, I do have one other question. You said that you went before the planning board, did you get approved through them, or is
No,
it,
they can't approve
it
until-
bounced to here to the zoning and then it'll go back?
They had a discussion on the planning board, and it was determined, once they discussed how many variances were required, they decided
It went
to
to
send it to
zoning.
us,
Okay,
take a look at the variances before they spend any more time.
okay, so you'll be going back before the planning board? Okay,
Yeah, should it be approved, it would, should any of the variances be approved, they would have to go back to the planning board with any revisions to the plan.
Mary, that's where we would discuss architectural
Right,
details
right,
if you wanted
yeah.
to improve it,
Yeah.
and I'm open to any suggestions.
alright, good.
I just have, how many letters were received? Was it just the two? One from the fire department and one from, you said Ms. Menuda submitted a letter? Because I
Yes.
haven't seen any letters.
Yeah, I
I
don't
haven't
see
seen
it
anything.
here,
I haven't seen it.
it may have been submitted and we don't currently have it.
Maybe it was submitted in our email, but I haven't seen any letter.
Hi, Christine Ripper, 103 Mountain Road. I also think that the density here is phenomenal. It's twice what the code requires, and it's, as was pointed out, not an attractive building. As a smaller building, it sort of has become part of the background here. I think that if it conforms more to the village's character, adding more of that type of small apartment high density housing would be more tolerable. I don't think that all fits in the town. It's a bulky, plain box. And I don't think that you need a huge box on that piece of property in the heart of the village.
Just respond, I mean, this is an attitude to come up with, and certainly the appearance, I think the applicant has said he would address, but on density, I mean, we have to come to a realization in the Hudson Valley that we're not providing housing for the people we need to provide housing for. And it's a shame, and it's, everybody likes to say they don't want it in a certain place, but if you can't provide it in a village, and if you can't provide housing for all the people who need housing in the heart of your village, then you're not a great village, and that's why we not only experience a housing problem, we experience a real problem with diversity, in our communities, because, we have to look and provide those opportunities, and we believe, when we look at this is a unique, opportunity to provide something in the heart of the village for the people who need to be in the heart of the village, and the people who are the heart of the village, who are doing the work for, the people who live in the historic homes. Their garbage needs to be picked up. They, services they need to have people in the hospital working when they go there. So these are the places that the heart of the village lives.
I have a follow-up comment.
Yes.
I reviewed the plans yesterday, rather briefly, but I noticed that it wasn't just the large tree in the front that's being removed, but several other trees on the property will be removed. An evergreen near the back, the rear of the property, which is visible from the street, and a couple of others. And, you know, sort of, I think that helps break up the property and makes it much more attractive.
If I can comment on that, that tree's coming down, the pine tree's coming down anyway, regardless. Whether it's a safety risk, too big, it's gonna fall down on the fence.
Okay. Yeah, I think, just for clarity, a landscaping plan showing what's coming out, what's coming in, kind of benefit everyone.
And the final review, the planning board will review this board would certainly provide that information to you in your decision, but the planning board will have to, and that will be one of the things they will look at in absolute detail, and that's an absolutely reasonable comment.
Gentleman in the back there has been patiently waiting.
Jean Paul Valet, I'm a tenant of Dean's. I live up at 78 Duncan Avenue. I'm here not to speak on the merits of the variances, but just generally as Dean is a landlord. I've been there for about 3 or 4 years. Throughout that time, I've found him to be eminently fair and responsible and responsive as a landlord. In the few instances where there's been an issue here or there, either called or texted him, responded right away, and quickly dealt with, remedied whatever the minor issue was. Since he's been a property owner, I could speak to 78 Duncan. He has made investments in the property in terms of improving some of the other apartment units, new flooring and painting and cabinet work and other fixtures and finishes. Even an awning off the front of the building down the exterior staircase. So there's been an effort to improve that property, certainly. So to that, I can vouch for his standing as a landlord. Also, just want to say, I know from recent experience, there is certainly a dearth of available housing and apartments here in the village, even in town of Cornwall itself. Been helping a close friend who's looking for an apartment, can't really find much of anything. So at the very least, we're talking about 3 more apartments that would seek to, address the issue in that way. So with that in mind, I ask you to, strongly consider his request.
My name is Brett Simone. I live at 63 Academy. We live at 63 Academy. I'm also a tenant of Dean's, not to kind of sound off on the same things, but I've actually lived there about 5 years. Dean took the property like last year, and to speak to some of the housing issues in Cornwall in general, we had a tenant downstairs on my last landlord that had a drum set that he would play all day, and like one of the bathroom walls were like an inch thick. And I didn't see my landlord for like the last 2 years he was there. I fixed a whole lot of nothing. But Dean moved in last year, and he took over last year. And so far, it's just significantly dumped time, effort, money, and took down all the trees in the back that were coming down on the house that were creaking, all the shrubs that were causing the everybody get tickets because they didn't see the "Don't Park Here" sign. We actually love Cornwall. We're trying to find a house here, which you're stuck in this place where even if you wanted to move out, a few years ago when I was having those problems, there's nowhere to move. And if you don't have $500,000 to buy a house, keep walking. So that isn't the greatest, but Dean's making it kind of a lot more bearable there now. And I just wanted to speak to how he's present. The last landlord, sure, he was a tenant. I mean, he was a landlord. He lived in Cornwall maybe 10 years ago, but he was gone. He was absent. Dean's there all the time. And to speak to some of the construction stuff, we had 17 crews of people there doing work, and they didn't obstruct us at all. He made sure they were out of the way and stuff. And I hate people blocking my driveway. There was that one day, I think. It's been really great. So I understand. I mean, I can't really speak to all the variances. That's not my world. But I understand the need from our end. If we couldn't get the apartment we got when we moved there, we were moving to Cornwall. And 2 houses actually is what got me to move here. And there's a lot of things that make me want to stay, and just so difficult when there's lack of places to live. But just to take that with a grain of salt.
Thank you. Anyone else? Nope. Okay. Does anyone have any questions about the variances?
Yeah, I just have a question, just on the, there seems to be a lot of concern around parking. And I'm sure you have, maybe you can talk about, have you gone through and tried to figure out any other places you can find a couple spots? I'm sure you have, I'm just curious. Just knowing that there is a lot of concern, it's come up a couple times.
One of the questions I had to follow up on that, you mentioned other properties you have on Hudson Street where the workers who would be working, would you consider assigning those parking spaces to your tenants?
You beat me to it.
I mean-
I would be more than happy to assign, and again, I put it in writing. If a tenant has more than one car would have to be assigned to an off parking. I own a parking lot on Main Street in Upper Cornwall, behind Hazard Pharmacy, that whole, I have 22 parking spots there. So I would have no problem saying that if put it in the I'll give it to you in writing. If a tenant has more than 2 vehicles, one must be parked off site.
I mean, as a landlord, you'll have to manage that with your tenants
And
as
again,
well.
to the point of, my tenants came down here on their own. You know, I talked to them about it, they were willing to come down here on their own. I'm a good landlord, I treat everybody fair, I don't gouge people, I charge fair rents. I dump tons of money in these properties to make sure they're right. I don't want an eyesore, I don't want my cars parked obstructing anything. I don't want my neighbors angry with me. You know, the neighbor in fact who I'm encroaching on, the side yard, when I first bought the property, you can ask him this, I knocked on his door, I gave him my cell phone number, I said, I'm Dean Glemis, I'm your new neighbor. I bought the property, I wanna know if there's any problems on my property. I wanna know if you hear anything, if there's any noise, and you can ask him that. And he, of course, he's not crazy about this project. He called me. One of my tenants has a motorcycle, and every Saturday he goes for a ride, or in the morning he takes it to work. And he was going, you know, what they do with the no baffles on the exhaust. He pointed it out, because I was walking down Hudson Street one day, and he was on his porch, he goes, hey Dean, this is what's going on. I addressed the guy, I said, this is what you're doing, this is what you gotta stop doing. And I followed up with Mr. Murphy 2 separate times to see if he's been satisfied. It's kind of landlord now. You know, like you said, I'm not an absentee landlord. You see me, I have a blue Tahoe. I drive all around every day between all my properties, making sure the garbage. One guy left his garbage bags today out, raccoons got them. Garbage all over, I called him at work. The second you get home from work, you come shovel this up. You know, I'm on top of it. I want my properties to be pristine, I want my properties to be good, I want to be a good neighbor. And, you know, I asked that you give serious consideration to this. I know I need some variances. I think it sounds worse than it is. We're asking for 11. I think 5 or 6 were existing. I think it's gonna be a benefit. You know, there'll be a few, okay. Some people said the building isn't ugly. I mean, some people may look at it as an opinion. Some people may look at it and say it's beautiful. I'm willing to do anything reasonable to make it look what the general public would deem more attractive. I'm willing to do anything with landscaping, common spaces, sidewalks, whatever it takes. You know, it's in my best interest to do as good a job as I can on this. At the end of the day, it's my investment.
Just for the board, while we were talking, I just took a quick look and we'll provide more, right, the Village of Walden, where I live, just one-bedroom units are 1.25 spaces per dwelling unit. 2 bedrooms are 1.75 per dwelling unit. It's only 3 or more that are 2. I think that's in keeping with most modern planning which is based upon actual, you know, figures from the ITP. So I think 16 spaces for 9 units will be more than enough for the people who live in the 9. We can present.
I'm just thinking it's gonna be these, you have 6 tenants right now competing over 18 spaces, you're gonna go to 9 tenants competing over 16, so you'll have to figure that out.
Right.
Yeah, it's like-
Right.
Yeah.
And again, we can skin that cat by assigning off-site parking to tenants.
Spam your tenants. I actually have a question for Mr. Carmona.
Yes, sir.
I was just, I was wondering if you could not to put you on the spot, but if you could clarify one of the variances. It's the building offset. It's There's no building offset.
I can clarify that.
The code requires.
I can do that. Yeah, that is a requirement of the code. There is a section of the code that requires any building not to be more than 160 linear feet in length. And every 40 feet, you need an offset of 5 feet. So he's less than 160, but he still got to meet the requirement of the offset. And he's not providing that, so that will be a variance.
Meaning you can't have a straight wall.
Right.
That's that.
They want some kind of offset just for architectural.
Every 40 feet.
That's correct.
And right now, as you have, it's just.
They chose not to provide that on their design, so that will be a variance, according to our zoning.
What would it look like if they provided that? What are,
That will be up to the designer to figure out how to make it fit and look attractive to you.
Do you know
or
how
to the
much
planning
of an
board.
offset it needs? Does it have to be 2 feet or
5 feet?
5 feet, 5 feet all the way to the roof line.
but that would then encroach on the side yard offset, so,
Uh,
I mean, if they did a,
Possibly, it could, depending on the design.
That's a difficult,
Yeah.
illustrate. It's a difficult task to achieve on one particular facade. On the back here, our left side, this big questionable dialogue we've had about the left side. If we had a 5-foot difference in every part of that facade, it'd be a totally different discussion. Not to mention complicate the way that all of these are configured. And that's kind of why it's the way that it is.
That's the, how long is that wall from?
The overall wall, 60 feet.
60?
60 feet.
And how many 5-foot variance would they be?
and it needs to be, there has to be
How
an
many?
offset every.
Just
40
one variance.
Every 40 feet,
Just one
we should
for
jog you in
a
5
Just for the offset, for not having the offset.
So a 5-foot difference on that facade would be problematic.
And jog in or jog out, or just.
Definitely wouldn't, I wouldn't encourage you to go.
Because that would get reduced, right, exactly.
Closer to the main, right, in there.
And jogging in would then reduce the parking footprint.
Right.
I think the spirit of that code is you don't just have a sheer uninterrupted wall. So I mean, even though it's the code says it needs a jog of 5 feet, which is pretty big.
That's kind of why we were confident in asking for the variance.
Yeah.
Because it's not, unless you asked that question and looked for it, you wouldn't find it.
Well, I think it needs. I mean, when you look at the rendering of that side, like it's a long wall. I think it does need something to break up the volume.
We can do that through materials, through siding,
Yeah, it can be done with a lot of different things.
landscaping. There's many different ways to address it. Right now, we're looking at the issues at the wall.
Yeah, I mean, I think we'd be, like the way it is, the way it's presented now, I don't think I personally wouldn't be in favor of the variance for that, but if you had some other proposals, we could take that into consideration.
If there aren't any more comments from the public, I'd suggest to the board that maybe we enter into a quick attorney-client session. If you want to do that, you could just make a quick motion.
Sure. I think a motion to enter into
Attorney-client session.
attorney-client session.
You want us to leave, or are you?
Oh, we can go into the other room. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Make it prettier. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Dean. Very nice to meet you.
Manny Carmona, building inspector, village of Cornwall and Hudson, 845-762-2865. Thank you.
Could it be 2 spots?
Hi, Manny Carmona, I'm the architect.
So year one, different material, year two. Listen, I'm not gonna spend money if I'm building to. So I think if we can take this roof and make it more of a peak, and then I can put like a different siding here. Well, you don't want it to be alien to the rest of the building. You know what I mean? You know, this looks just.
All right, how are you? Hi, this is Manny Carmona, building inspector.
This is different siding, I think so.
Well, how are you?
You gotta look worse.
Do a site visit, yeah.
Gives you a whole different perspective.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I've had it.
Yeah.
Should have a car, John, Capello C, A, double P, E, double L, O, and the Jacobus.
Wow, okay. If you give me the address, I could stop by, take a look at that property. Okay. 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 But it's directly behind your house at 354 Hudson. Okay. All right. I'll come out. I mean, I won't be able to do it today because we had we still had a meeting that we just took a quick break. And we're gonna end up late, but on Monday, I'll be back to work on Monday. What I'll do, I'll call you, I'll come by your house and, you show me from there. We'll take a look at it together. Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay, all right, very good. You're welcome, so you have a good day and I'll see you on Monday, yep. Bye.
Look at that, everybody's going.
Everybody's gone. Look.
All right.
Let's order some pizza.
Yeah.
I thought that's what the food was.
Disappointed.
All right, just in discussing with the board, I think today's meeting went a long way to kind of clarifying what the proposal is and some of the issues that we're considering. We'd like to request a little more information. So I think we would like to see either a plan or just some data on some of the neighboring properties in terms of offsets from the road, from the adjoining buildings, just to kind of get an idea of whether what's being proposed here is in character with what's here, or if it's kind of out of left field. So just kind of a neighborhood analysis, doesn't have to be wildly exhaustive, but
The core of the village.
yeah. Another thing is a similar thing with the parking. See if, or not so much with neighboring properties in the village, although that would be helpful. But just some of the ideas you were talking about with similar towns, some examples of areas that would have a reduced amount of parking and whether that's successful. I would like to see a landscape plan that shows what's being removed and what's being proposed.
We have that, but I think especially along you can address that wall, that what that's going to look like in terms of that the wall, what's going to be done there, because obviously you're going to have to do something there. So maybe through landscaping, maybe through some breaking up, or either it's landscaping or however you decide to break that up, because you're going to need the variance there also.
Yeah, I mean, it could be a slight jog in the wall, not the full 5 feet that's required, but something, or it could be,
architectural.
Yeah, just some sort of architectural element on the building that kind of breaks it up.
John, you want to speak to your idea about each unit breaking it up? No. We discussed
But we know, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, just a little
To
more.
spare the board, it was an ugly idea, I don't want to show that.
Again, all these suggestions I'm wide open to, so
Okay.
whatever I gotta do to make it attractive, I'm more than willing to.
Okay. And then a site plan that's a little more clear on the exact offsets in all the areas. We have the surveyor's plan, which, no offense, Mr. Surveyor, but just something that's more diagrammatic, that just has
Simplify it
the
for
building,
Sure.
Offsets, kind of.
Maybe get the parking, we know what the parking is, because when I look at it, the parking makes me dizzy. All the lines.
Yeah.
Shows
It
building,
gets-
different layers.
Yeah, can we do that, Anthony?
Oh, yeah, 12 can do anything.
No. And then the set. I think the plans were in the package, but I think we'd like to see the elevations. That's what we've seen them here today, but I know a lot of people stop into the building department to take a look at the package, and I don't think any of that information was in there, so that would be.
Yeah, it's the first time I saw the elevations.
Yeah.
Sure.
Not necessarily the rendering. I mean, the renderings are okay, but I mean, it was the
Do you
elevation.
want them printed up, or do you want them emailed, or?
Yeah, like a printed copy that's on file at the building department, so anyone can stop in and take a look at it.
The only other thing too is I don't think we got an EAF with the application.
Environmental?
Yeah.
Sure,
Okay.
We got that statement.
Just
from
didn't
the
make it to
county
me, I
telling
guess.
us it's a
Yeah.
218 thing, we got that statement.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I just never look for that.
Actually, since we have it here, maybe I should put that.
I got the environmental.
You got it, okay.
Okay, so I think we're gonna make a motion to adjourn to the next meeting, which would be on July
14th.
14th.
And like was said, if you want to contact Dean, if your attorney, I usually send two and one, or one and two, if you want to go through the process.
And again, if you, to speak about parking, when you drive and coming home one night, pull in the parking lot, in the middle of the night, you gotta have make parking. I don't believe parking will truly be an issue, I really don't.
It could be in the future. I think that's that's the concern, and when you're not the landlord, or when other things come down, and just want to make sure that there's at least some plan for that, or thought about it at least in the moment.
All right, so I will make a motion to adjourn the meeting until July 14th.
Thank you. Thank you.
And for the board while we're here, I think we need to approve the minutes from the last meeting.
Since we have the orange, should we just introduce this now so it's in the?
You can wait till the next meeting.
Aye.
You don't even know what the date of the minutes are.
November 2021.
I remember the pool. It was the pool. It was the pool one. I ride by it all the time. They put it in the pool. They've already put it in. We're late now. The pool's there.
make a motion to approve the minutes from the zoning board of appeals meeting from Thursday, November 18th, 2021.
Seconded. Beat you to it.
Are we
Good.
still supposed to be on camera, or is that off?
Nope, you're still
Thanks,
good.
guys.
Thank you very much.
Okay,
All right. So we're good?
Once you adjourn, I turn it off.
okay.
Yeah, you can make a motion to adjourn the.
Motion to adjourn the meeting.
Seconded.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
You know,
Have to go to the bathroom.
Okay, I know this is first meeting with the letter that I provided, this a good format for you?
yeah, that was really helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was good.
Very good.
I like that.
I just wanted to make sure it was great, though.
And that is the official list of the variances